What's going on, Steve Austin fans? It's producer Sean G here with something a little different to start your Monday. We have a brand new podcast starting here at PodcastOne called It's Not Only Football, Friday Night Lights, and Beyond. Yes, you heard that right. A brand new rewatch podcast about your favorite show, Friday Night Lights.
Hello, everybody, and welcome in to It's Not Only Football, Friday Night Lights, and Beyond, where we talk, of course, about the show, but we also talk about life, and we talk about friendships that have been going on for the better part of 2 decades now, maybe? 2 decades?
Well, first of all, who are you?
Yeah, who are you?
Well,
who is this voice talking about Friday Night? Who cares?
My name is Scott Porter. I played Jason Street, otherwise known as Six, on the show, and I am joined by...
I'm Zach Gilford. I played Matt Saracen on the show for a little bit.
What was your number?
7.
And I'm Mae Whitman, and I was not on Friday Night Lights, but I am the world-renowned, everyone knows, #1 fan in the entire universe of Friday Night Lights. So I'm here to keep these two in check.
Yep. So you got an all-American roster here, 6, 7, and May in the house right now. And we're going to talk about the show in not just episode-to-episode kind of way. We're also going to talk about kind of the global effect that Friday Night Lights had, like, throughout kind of the industry. There was so many times we'd go in for another audition, 3 of us all being actors, and see written in the script, you know, we want this to be Friday Night Lights style. Well, what does that mean? We're going to get into that. But we're also going to talk about life. You know, Zach and I lived together for a while. Both of us have characters that were married to May in different shows. Me on Parenthood and Zach on Good Girls. So, you know, we're going to kind of talk about the impact of the show on us as people and everything that we did after Friday Night Lights as well, as far as Zach and I are concerned, and just kind of live life, hopefully with an awesome community out there that's already listening.
Yeah, we had so many connections that, you know, I was so excited when the boys came to me and asked me to be a part of this because, you know, I mean, truly, like, I am the #1 fangirl of this television show, and I think, like, of the universe that it kind of created. And so, I mean, so much so that I pretty much exclusively try to cast Friday Night Lights boys as my love interests. I've done pretty well. We'll get through that roster later.
We don't have to call us boys all the time. But second of all, I
can say whatever I want.
You can say whatever you like. I actually met May when she creepily approached me at a restaurant in Los Angeles.
Really?
Oh,
I don't remember
this? Oh, man.
I'll
never forget because it was super creepy.
Yes.
And you're like, oh my God, I love the show. Blah, 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 blah,
that
blah.
low voice, I used that.
Yeah,
that's
you
my
did.
approaching
and, like,
people.
Both my wife and I, like, slowly creeped away. And we're like, I hope I never see her again. And here we are, however many years later, and we're actually really good friends now. So I'm excited.
Me too. And also, I just have to say, I think I actually probably am the most qualified of anyone to be here on this television show because I was born on Dillon Street. That's right, Dillon Street was the first home I ever lived in Los Angeles as a baby. Just wanted to put that out there. Obviously, I'm feeling defensive, like I deserve to be here.
It was destined to be.
Exactly.
Talking about deserving to be here, I guess we should kind of jump into, like, why the 3 of us are all here. You know, we're going to kind of explore, I guess, the casting process for you. What episode maybe it was for you that, like, made you go, okay, this is something I want to talk about.
The first one.
The very first one,
Duh.
the pilot.
Yes.
Which we will be getting to. And this first episode, we're going to kind of just talk about why we're here. And I guess...
Where'd this idea come from? Where did you guys want... Why did you want to do this?
Well, I know I got a phone call from Scott like a year ago now. And he said, hey, Zach, I want to talk to you about an opportunity. I'm not,
it sounds like a Ponzi scheme.
I literally rolled my eyes and groaned a little bit. I was like, ugh. But then he told me about, like, rewatch podcasts and how they're a thing. And I've never finished the series. I've only watched it literally when it aired. And I kind of was like, oh, I guess it might be cool to go back and watch it. People keep telling me that it's good.
I've never finished it either, so I can't believe we're going to go through this together. Yeah,
that actually makes all 3 of us. Yeah, I got a phone call from a friend who works in the industry last August, and they're like, hey, you know, do you guys do you want to come on? And I thought just me talking into a mic about Friday Night Lights would just be, I don't know, very formulaic. But I lived with Zach.
It would be masturbatory.
I don't think you can say that. Oh, no, I'm just kidding. We can say anything we want.
I guess it's the Wild Wild West in podcasts,
Yeah.
but I guess
you should see this guy's hat.
Yeah, it's just the rooster on it, and
just calling a spade
guess what?
a spade.
People can see his hat because we're
yeah.
not only on the airwaves, we're also on camera right now. Did you both know that? Just
I know.
Sure. Yes, and if you're out there listening, you can also watch us. Go find It's Not Only Football beyond Friday Night Lights on any video.
I think it's called Friday Night Lights and Beyond.
Any video platform, you can just find it.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway, back to the point.
Anyway, got a phone call and I wanted to do it with good friends, and Zach and I have been very good friends since we shot the pilot. As a matter of fact, when we started the actual shooting of season 1 with episode 2, Zach hadn't even found a place to live yet, and we lived together. And then all of season 2, we lived together.
What was that like? Who did the dishes? Who didn't? Tell us the dirty
We were good
deeds.
roommates. I'm not going to go too into it. But no, Scott was kind enough to let me sleep on his couch for, I don't know, a few weeks while I found a place because I was off in, I don't know, the mountains somewhere. Sorry, what'd I do?
You're bumping the table. It's going to sound all scary.
I'm sorry, listeners. Anyway, yeah, I slept on his couch. But really what's kind of a cool story is I'll never forget during the casting process, there's this really annoying process called testing where they kind of narrow it. I mean, you guys know, I'm explaining to the audience. Where they kind of narrow it down to their top 2 or 3 choices for a role. And on this show, they had Jason Street, Tyra, Lila, Saracen, Landry, Amy,
Julie Taylor.
Julie, so there were 20 of us around a conference table at NBC, and we all had to just hang out and be like, cool, it's me or you. Let's be
It
friends.
was each of the roles, and then 2 or 3 actors for each of the roles,
Oh, my
all
goodness.
sitting there in a conference room
Suits
at ABC
ox.
Universal, giant, huge building outside of Universal Studios Hollywood. And we're all just sitting in there, just shaking and nervous as can
And
be.
normally it's not like that, right? I mean, in my experience with testing, a lot of the times, yes, you sit in the kind of waiting room, sometimes with other people that are testing, but usually you go in the room alone, and it's stressful in a different way because you're by yourself and you're standing in front of 20 people and the lights are blaring in your face and they're all kind of half asleep and you're trying to convince them that you should be the one. But I can't imagine sitting with all of them kind of around a conference table.
It's definitely awkward. I remember, and Scott had been flown in from New York because he was so good and they're so in love with him that they bought him a business class ticket and put him up at a swanky Hollywood hotel. And then when we were leaving, he was like, I don't have a car. I don't know how to get back to my hotel.
That's my restaurant voice.
Yeah,
you and I have something
we
in
sound
common.
very similar.
You guys sound the same to me. So anyway, I was like, oh, cool, dude. I'll give you a ride home. And I remember in the parking lot being like, I hope you get it. And he was like, I hope you get it. Ultimately, we did. My story is kind of a funny one. I guess I'll just segue into that.
Yes, please.
Go.
So,
There we go.
All right, I'll try not to spin too long of a yarn. But I remember going... Oh, man. So I lived in New York as well. They didn't fly me out from New York like Scott. But I went into New York and I actually auditioned for Riggins.
What?
And, yeah. I know, it's hard to believe.
It really
How
is
good
hard
could the
to
show
believe.
have been if I was Riggins?
Yeah, that's the first thought that came to my mind.
So I auditioned for that. Crickets.
Yeah.
And then it's like the holidays and I go out to LA.
That sounds just like a cricket.
That's really good.
Yeah,
Wow.
there you go.
I go out to LA after the new year, and I literally driven out from Chicago, and I get a call, and they say, hey, they want to see you again on Friday Night Lights. I was like, sweet, when? They're like, in 2 hours. I was like, oh my God, okay. And I didn't even have an apartment yet or anything. I went to Starbucks to use Wi-Fi, and I hand wrote out the sides. And I go in, I'm talking to the casting director, Linda Lowy, who I owe my career to, and she was like, we're chitty chat. And then she was like, all right, let's read it. I'm like, cool. She's like, and you're reading for Matt, right? And I was like, what? No, I read for Riggins. She's like, oh, I wanted to see you read for Matt. And I'm like, okay, cool. Can I have 5 minutes? I'll just go look at it. I'm sure I can do it. And she goes, no, that's fine. Don't worry about it. I'm like, I don't even need 5 minutes. I'll just cold read it. Just give me the sides, please. And she said, no, it's fine. I'll bring you in next week for Peter Berg. She was like, I know you'll be good. And I was like, no way. So then, fast forward to next week, I'm sitting in Imagine Entertainment, and Brian Grazer's walking by, and blah blah blah. And it's my turn. There's a bunch of dudes, and then there's one asshole who no, he's an asshole. He shows up with a fucking football. Sorry, I'll stop driving. I have the worst mouth.
You can curse.
Okay.
We're
He
adults
shows up
here.
with a football to the Friday Night
I
Lights
hate it
audition.
when they bring props.
It's
God,
the worst.
That's annoying.
And so then they're like, okay, Zach, you sit in this chair right here by this door. You're next. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to give him a big opportunity. And then Peter Berg, like, busts through the door and walks past me on the phone, like, chitty-chatting on the phone, gets in the elevator and leaves. And Castine comes out, Linda, and she's like, Zach, I'm so sorry. He'll be back in a minute, and then we'll bring you in. So a couple minutes later, Pete Berg comes in, and he sees football guy sitting there. He goes, you, hey, come in. And they're like, oh, Zach's actually next. He's like, I want to see this kid. And so he goes in, and I'm like, okay. And they're like, Zach, you'll be next. Don't worry. You'll go after football guy. I'm like, sure. Yeah. So football guy goes in, football guy comes out, and then like 2 minutes later, Pete Berg leaves again. And they're like, hey, Zach, Pete had to go. But will you come read for the producers? I'm like, yeah, of course. So I go and read for them. They're like, you're great. We'll bring you in again for Pete. And so then I get to come in again for Pete, and then I get to test for the studio, and I pass that, and then I test
you
for
bring
the
a football?
network. I did not bring a football, but I do know this. Football guy was the kid that I was testing against.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then he
was a young blonde thing.
yeah, much better looking
Oh
than
yeah.
me.
He looked like Sunshine from Remember the Titans.
Yeah.
Ooh.
He was ready to go.
Wow.
So then they have a hold on you for 5 days after you test, and they call after 5 days, and they're like, hey, they want to extend your hold. I'm like, well, I don't have any other jobs.
Wait
so
a minute. Because I was at this same audition process. He had again Pete leave the room before he went in to do his test. So the way that tests work, I'm just gonna say this: you go in and you do a studio test first, and then you do a network test. So you've got NBC Universal, who is the studio, who's then going to take their top choices to NBC, who is the network. So Universal, we went the first day, and there was like 5 people for every part. This next day, there was only like 2 or 3, maybe. So for Street, it went from 6 to 2. And I think for Zach, it went from like 5 to 2. And then right before Gilford gets up to go in, which like everybody was nervous, Gilford was like laying down on a counter. Like this conference room had like a sink and it had like a snack bar.
That's so
and he was
mean.
just like,
That's very mean.
it's making sense now that like, he didn't even have a place to stay while he was there. He's probably sleeping in this Subaru Outback that he drove across the country. And Zach gets up there like, okay, Zach, ready? And then Pete comes storming by the door on the phone again. There was like apparently some contract thing or something.
Well, I'll tell you what the
that was
contract
happening.
thing was basically, so they extend my hold, whatever, boring. And they wanted this other kid. And basically for testing, Pete was like, yeah, this is the kid I want. And I guess everyone sounds the same to me. He's like, that's the kid I want. They're like, you can't just bring one person to the network. He's like, well, that's who I want. And they said, just bring someone else. He's like, I don't want anyone else. And Linda Lowy was like, well, Zach was pretty good. He's like, I don't care. Fine, Zach. So then they're trying to work out the contract with this kid.
For football.
And with Football Boy. And his managers had double booked him on a Disney TV movie.
Oh, no.
And they couldn't work out the dates because it's shot in New Zealand. And they tried so hard for so long that we were going to start shooting in 2 days. And they were like, I mean, we can't really test anyone else. I guess we just got to hire Zach. And Zach was like, fine. So then, fast forward, I remember the big dinner at the pilot or whatever when, the producers and Pete make a big toast. They're like, we're so excited about this cast. We couldn't imagine anyone else in these roles. And you were all our top choices. And I go, no. And that's fine. But I know the truth.
That probably set you up for some background of Saracen. I feel like Saracen sort of has this sort of insecurity. It's kind of like what goes, it's underneath the surface. I'm like, maybe that's what Pete was trying to achieve. Maybe he knew he wanted you all along, but he was just trying to, put that sort of...
So it's just the Pete genius.
Yeah, it's the penis. Are we allowed to say that?
Oh, sure.
Genius.
Penius.
That's right.
Just for anybody out there playing along at home.
Was your casting story as fun as mine?
My casting
He
story
was
was a
flown
little
out
bit
in
different.
business class. He's like, I was eating my delicious lobster tail on the plane, and...
Well, the crazy thing is that was my first ever pilot season. I had gone up to New York after beatboxing in theme parks and beatboxing off Broadway in a show called Toxic Audio, and then randomly booked a musical comedy called Altar Boys, and I had spent a year in New York performing that show and then doing the grind of like 8 shows a week, and then during the day starting to go on auditions. I didn't have headshots when I first went to New York to do Altar Boys. I hadn't ever read sides. I was a theme park kid.
How old were you guys?
I was 24.
So I was 23.
Yeah.
Wait, no.
And the crazy thing
You're
is,
not only-
oh no, maybe I was 25 at the time.
I don't know
I don't
how
know.
old you were.
I was
think I was
older
23.
than I should have been. I mean, the casting breakdown said for the character, nobody over the age of 19, nobody under the height of 6'2", and I was like 25 and 5'11", so there was no way I was supposed to get this part. But you know, I was up there, and I had been on the hook to book Tarzan on Broadway. I did a whole audition process. I'm talking.
A whole lot of humble
Swinging
bragging.
and-
going
No.
on there.
Well, I
This is
didn't get
important.
it. I didn't get it. I lost the role of Tarzan to a very talented guy, Josh Strickland. But I mean, throughout that process, this 7-month-long process of like having to audition with no shirt on and singing with Phil Collins, or going to like SUNY New York and being taught by animal experts how to actually move like a gorilla and do bungee rehearsals with the people that
And
did
you didn't
De La
even have the
Guarda.
part yet?
No, didn't even. This was to get the
I want
part.
to see what he's made of.
And I was offered lead ensemble and dual understudy for both the Hunter and for Tarzan. And I said, that's awesome. I would love to do that. I just want an out for television, as advised by my agents. And they were like, "What? We don't give outs for television. You've been doing this little off-Broadway show, and you have no idea how to lead a stage or how to actually be a Broadway performer. And we at Disney Theatricals can teach you that. So we're not going to give you an out for television because you're just going to ruin your career and be fourth handsome guy on the left on some WB show."
Smart.
That was their pitch to me as to why I should be lead understudy and not do a proper pilot
the
season.
second handsome guy
And it-
in the wings.
It really pissed me off, though. I was like, okay, that's what this guy thinks my ceiling is. And so I started pilot season. I was just passing on pilots.
What is pilot season? Can we just do a little?
Yeah,
introduction
of
here?
course. Pilot season, like Zach was mentioning earlier, is like this time of year when every single show, back in the day, it's not like this anymore because there's like that archaic kind of schedule that they built into network television has been destroyed by streamers and all these other cable networks that do TV. But back in the day, there used to be one time a year that if you were hopeful of creating a show, you would write and then you would pitch it to the networks at like the end of the summer. They would decide which ones they wanted to actually get a bigger script of, and then they'd get the bigger script, and then they decide, okay, these are the ones we'll actually shoot to maybe put on air. And that's pilot season, that phase of getting a show on television. And so they start casting for all of these television pilots. The pilot is the first episode. You shoot the first episode, and then there's a couple of months before something called upfronts used to happen, where all the networks would decide what, 7 to 12 shows they were actually going to pick up for that fall season for 22 episodes, which also doesn't happen anymore.
And there was a huge influx, right, of people that would come to Los Angeles. It was
Everybody
like-
in the world would be in LA fighting for all of these different roles. And as an actor, you're getting a script on a Tuesday, knowing you have to go in at 9 a.m. the next morning, memorizing 13 pages of dialogue, and getting a second script that shoots across, that the audition's across town in Santa Monica. It's a 45-minute to an hour drive. And knowing you got to learn 11 pages of a different character.
Yeah, the first thing I remember in Los Angeles, what a lot of actors saying to each other, it's like burned into my memory, is like, "You doing pilot season this year?" That was like like everyone was always like, "You do it." I was like, I'm always doing, my life is one big pilot season. Like, yes, I want a job. This is me doing it all. But yes, it was like a thing that you could like do or not do, or opt in or opt out. It was like this crazy mad situation. Okay, so it's pilot season.
Before I go any further, we say, Friday Night Lights and Beyond as a part of the title here. Parenthood. Did you audition or did you get an offer?
I auditioned. It was really early on in the process, and I remember Tommy Schlamme, who I had worked with, actually, funnily enough, married to Christine Lottie, who played my mom on Chicago Hope, which is where I first met Pete Berg. Thank you. I was about 9 or 10 years old. I thought he was just the funniest thing of all time because he didn't treat me like a 10-year-old. He treated me like an adult and pranked at me and made fun of me, and we had a really good time
So
together.
sorry he made fun of you.
Yeah, I was into it. I was like, I can love this. I can handle it. And so I remember it was really early on in the casting process. And I think the only other person that had been cast at the time was Sarah Ramos, who played Hattie, who played my cousin. And so we actually went in. I think I went straight to the test for it, or it was like straight to the, basically I did one like reading with Sarah, and then I remember we left, and she actually, funnily enough, she drove. I remember walking with her, and she drove me back to my car. And it's just funny because we had the same thing of her being like, I hope you get it. And me being like, I hope I get it, and it was the same kind of moment. But then after that, I was cast. And then it was interesting because they sort of, we had a regular cast, which you guys can relate to, of about 21 series regulars or something insane. So they sort of started building our families kind of around that. And that took forever because the cast, was so many different moving pieces and schedules and whatnot. So, but yeah, that was kind of my process. I didn't have to have like the terrifying pilot, this step. I mean, I'm breaking out in hives just thinking about all this network in the studio. I have the amount of like sides, pages of the script that I was holding on to that like have like holes like drilled into them because of my thumbs rubbing, like the nerves, the stress. It's just, you just want something so badly. And it's such for me, still to this day, after doing this since I was 2 years old, I still struggle with knowing how much to really sink your heart into something that you want so badly, that you show how badly you want it, but also not putting so much of your heart into it that when you don't get it, it totally rips you apart. It's such a difficult balance. And I think like having that chaotic energy of pilot season really was not the most conducive zone for feeling zen and calm and doing your best work. So I'm glad it's not really like that anymore.
We are so stoked to be here for our first episode and are so grateful to our sponsors at Hyundai. It's mile 1,298. You're still new to this whole EV thing, but you're no longer freaking out. Those range fears? Way overblown. Because your new all-electric Hyundai Ioniq 5 gets you to work and back all week on a single charge. And that worry about charging times? You could charge from 10 to 80% in as little as 18 minutes using a 350-kilowatt fast charger. See, this whole EV lifestyle is way easier than you imagined. You didn't just go electric. You went Ioniq. Strong choice, you. Which means you can save your freaking out for that late-night email your boss just sent. Seriously, don't read that until tomorrow. The Hyundai Ioniq 5. When it comes to embracing change, we're thinking of every mile. Hyundai. It's your journey.
Call 562-314-4603 for complete details. 2023 Ioniq 5 rear-wheel drive has an EPA estimated drive range of up to 303 miles. Actual range will vary with options, driving conditions and habits, vehicle and batteries conditions, and other factors. Available in limited quantities in select states only.
That's exactly kind of what I was feeling, too, though. Like, what do I sink my heart into? Which, after Friday Night Lights, funnily enough, after I left Friday Night Lights, I was putting myself into every single audition because there was this pressure. Because I left the show in season 3, and other actors like Zach were on it all the way through. And, all the way.
Technically, I don't know.
Technically, all the way.
No spoiler. Haven't seen the last couple of episodes.
I haven't actually watched the final couple of seasons either. So we're all going to go on
Mine
this
is
journey.
too sad. I did it because I was genuinely too sad to say goodbye to my friends. I wasn't ready.
When I was on the show, and we'll get back to the casting process and the pilot talk and put in it. By the way, we're a very tangential group, so everybody out there listening, take this journey with us. For me, the reason I didn't finish the show, and we'll get into this much later, is none of us knew how long we were going to be around for. That same dinner where Peter was congratulating us all and Sarah Aubrey was congratulating us all on shooting this awesome pilot. We weren't sure if it was going to get picked up or go to series or anything. At the very end of it, Pete did say, look, if we don't get picked up, it's not the end of the road for you. I left a show that was highly successful in the second season on my own volition. He was talking about Chicago Hope, I believe, because I knew there was more for me out there. And I'm going to tell each and every one of you here, there's more for you out there. This is not the end of anything. This is the beginning of something wonderful. Then after we shot episode 2, when we had come back to start shooting the season, we had another welcome dinner. And he continued that thought and said, look, this isn't 90210, the college years. We're not going to follow anybody on this show to college and beyond. If you leave Dillon, because it's not only football is the key to this whole thing. It's about the town of Dillon. It's not about the Dillon Panthers. I mean, they don't even stick with spoiler alert, everybody. We're going to assume that everybody's watched the show. If you haven't, we're so excited for you to be here and watch along with us as we rewatch. But, they don't even stick with that team. It's about the town. It's about the people within. And once you leave the town, you leave the show. So I didn't know until the beginning of season 3 that I was not going to be on the show anymore. I got a phone call about 2 weeks before we started shooting that I was going to be in 4 episodes of season 3 and that my character was moving to New York. And that was that. And I had been watching every week because when you're in a show with such a huge ensemble, I was just so impressed by every single person that I worked with. I had never worked on a show before. This was my very first thing. And I was learning so much from just watching them. But once I left, I felt like I have a work ethic in me instilled by my mother and my father who worked from sun up to sundown their whole life. And I was a latchkey kid when I was young. And I just saw my parents working themselves to the bone all the time. And I felt like as an actor, I had to do the exact same thing. So I was going in for every audition after that. And I just kind of stopped watching. And it was also, I mean, if I'm going to be honest, like pretty painful.
Yes, absolutely.
Because I knew from the very beginning that this was such a special show. That's why in that initial pilot season, I was passing on pilots. I was so scared of being fourth person from the left, whatever that guy from Disney Theatricals told me I was going to be. I was so scared of that. And my agent called me, Randy Goldstein, and she was like, hey, what the are you doing? Why are you don't pass on anything. You go in on everything. You've never done a pilot season before. And I was so scared. Luckily, the 4th script I ever laid eyes on was Friday Night Lights. I played high school football. I was an invited walk-on at the University of Central Florida. I had seen the movie 7 times in the theater with, old teammates of mine. What they experienced in the movie, I experienced. My school had never had a winning season. And then our class went to the state quarterfinals and the state semifinals in Florida, which is it's not Texas football, but it's still a big deal. And then I remember taking that helmet off for the last time and knowing that I wasn't going to play anymore. And I had those moments, and I felt that way about this project. And then I read the script, which is just brutal. I have my audition script, and I read the whole thing, and I was like, this is not a show like that. This is not Fourth Handsome Guy from the Left on whatever. And by the end of the pilot, I knew what happened to Jason. It's in here. And so I had 2 scenes to go audition with. Stephen O'Neill was the casting director in New York at NBC. And I went into his office, and I had ripped a different scene out and told him that I think they had the wrong scenes to audition with, which I could never get away with now.
Skirt! If you're loving what you're hearing, head on over to It's Not Only Football, Friday Night Lights and Beyond, wherever you got this podcast. There's already 2 episodes up with more to come every Thursday. Happy Thanksgiving, y'all.